Hey, what's up? This is Jordie Ireland and I'm here with Milky. I was actually introduced to music like super early on. I grew up in a house where in each different room there was different music being played. You'd have the Bee Gees in one room and then you'd have Kendrick Lamar in the other room. So naturally from an early age I was introduced to music super early on. And then I was actually, I don't like to use the word forced, but I was forced into learning some instruments at an early age. I actually was classically trained in 5 instruments by the time that I was 11. So I've always had that music background. After that point in time, I kind of thought that music was uncool. And so I gave it up for a little bit until I was about 14 and I went to an underage music festival and Avicii was playing and he changed my entire life. That one show made me realize that this was my calling in life. And it was just super eye-opening and something that I wanted to try out myself, see if I could do it. And I went in to the studio. I call it a studio. It was literally my bed and a laptop. And the first song that I ever made was absolutely awful. And I figured that that was going to be the end of me trying out music, but I stuck with it. And eventually Take Cover came along and that was my first ever single. And yeah, and then, you know, it's been growing and growing and I've been, you know, getting in as many sessions as I possibly can. And 5 years later, here we are. I've always wanted to do some sort of conceptual project and it just felt right that for my debut EP I wanted to make it a conceptual EP. I've always been fascinated about psychology and the way that the brain works, and something that really stuck to me was the whole concept of having 5 stages of grief when you go through something hard in your life. And I figured that, you know, that would be able to be expressed so well through music. And at the time of coming to that conclusion, I also was going through my own heartbreak. Very first song on the EP, Different Way, was the first song on the EP that we wrote, so it felt natural for it to be the first song. And, you know, basically every song outlines a different stage or a different emotion that I personally went through during my heartbreak, and hopefully people can relate to it as well. But yeah, basically the EP is a direct story about what I went through a couple of years ago, and then this is me sharing it with the world. Because of the conceptual nature of the EP, I also wanted to make sure that the production was following suit in the way that there was a story told. And if you listen to the EP start to finish, you'll be able to notice that song by song, not only the lyrical meaning behind the music slowly gets more positive as you go through, but also the production changes throughout each song, changes with each emotion. And towards the end of the EP, which Bad Days is the final song, it's the most positive song. And also the production is the most positive production, whereas towards the beginning of the EP, you know, you've got the more ballady, the more slow songs, and it just felt right to have the music and the production match up with the lyrical meaning behind the words. I actually very clearly remember an interview ages ago. Someone was interviewing Julia Michaels and I remember her talking about Issues, her first big song, and that song was initially going to go to another artist, but she said there was something in the song that didn't allow her to hear that being sung by someone else. It was so close to her and so meaningful to her that it didn't feel right for someone else's voice to be telling this story. And I like to relate Different Way back to that as well, because as I mentioned, you know, this EP is so closely related to me. And Different Way is arguably one of the most, I would say that it's the most emotional song. It's the most direct storyline from my life in a song. And, you know, we experimented with other vocalists, but in the end, it felt way more authentic coming from me, considering this is directly from my story. And it's super exciting. You know, it's something that I've always wanted to try. And I'm just happy that I was able to do it on my debut EP. Despite the fact that I do want to continue singing on my songs, I still think that collaboration is the most important part of what I do as a musician. Bringing other people's stories into my music and, you know, allowing other people to also express what they've been through in life. And I'm always super particular about who those collaborators are, especially when it comes to a featured vocalist. Followed all of these guys for so long. I was such a big fan of all of them. You know, Cam from Glades. I went to one of the first ever Glades show and thought it was incredible and always wanted to work with Cam, and I was lucky enough to do that at a Sony songwriting camp. And then David and Dasher, I was lucky enough to meet on a trip to LA, and they instantly became my best friends, and it just felt right to have them as a part of this project. And then obviously Baby Ivy, you know, she has an incredible voice. I'd heard her voice before. I managed to get a contact with her, and yeah, she sounded great on the track. I'm so happy with all the collaborators on this project. Not only the people that are featuring on the songs, but also the people that I wrote these songs with and worked on these songs with. There's no better group of people that I could think of to work with for this project. I never like to stick within guidelines when it comes to making music. You know, music itself is so passionate and fluid, and I believe that if your workflow matches that feeling, then you'll get the best results. So for example, sometimes I might be in the car and voice record something and we start with a vocal, or a lot of the times I'll start with the guitar in the room. It really just feels, it's really just whatever feels right in the moment. And you know, I think allowing yourself to have that adaptability in the room is super important, because if you are collaborating with other people, they might feel more comfortable doing it a different way to you. My favorite part about writing music is the first hour, where you don't really write any music. You're just chatting to the collaborators and learning about their lives and asking them what's going on in their life at the moment. And I find that that creates the best song, the most authentic song, the most, you know, real song that people can relate to. So I generally don't like to stick to any guidelines when I'm in the room writing a song. Oh, that's so hard. I love so many of the songs on this EP. I mean, I love them all. They're all like my babies. It's like choosing my favorite child. I think in terms of my production skill, I would probably say The Different Way or Bad Days is the best to showcase that. But in terms of songwriting, you know, the first two songs, Sober of Us and Different Way, are both so meaningful to me, and you know, we really thought about how to convey the emotions that I was feeling in my life in the best way possible lyrically. While I can't choose a favorite, I'd say if I wanted to showcase me as an artist, it would probably be Different Way, and it just helps that I'm singing on it as well. That's a great question. You know, each of the songs I think has its own moment. There's one moment in every one of the songs on the EP that I listen to that lyric and I'm like, wow, I'm really happy we put that lyric in. And I really like to do that in as much music as I possibly can, you know, because the chances are someone might listen to one song on the EP but not listen to the rest. And the goal is to get them to listen to the rest. So I make sure that in every song there's some sort of symbolism or motif that I believe, you know, can invoke emotions within people that allows them to, you know, feel something. Because at the end of the day, the reason that we make music is to help people feel things and have emotions and express those emotions through sound. There is one thing that is consistent throughout the songs, which has actually got nothing to do with the song. It's the artwork. I got an amazing piece of art done on my guitar. And that guitar was the guitar that we recorded all the songs on. And, you know, I'm just obsessed with art in general, whether it's music, whether it's painting. And I wanted to have a piece of kind of memorabilia for myself that reminds me whenever I pick this guitar up, it reminds me of this EP. So I'd say probably that guitar, which shows up in all the artwork for the EP, is probably the most consistent motif in this whole project. For me, it is one of the most important things. When I'm listening to music, when I am making music, I'm always visualizing what things are going to look like in my head. And sometimes, you know, I might think that something I'm working on is great because I can visualize what the music video is going to look like or what it's going to look like live. But a lot of the times that's just all in my head. So I think it's really important to have visual content alongside this music so that you're kind of directing the listener and the viewer into the headspace that you want them to be in with the music. Once again, I'm so in love with art and all art forms, and I think video is also such an incredible art form in order to express emotions and convey emotions and evoke emotions from the people watching it. And so, you know, I would be pretty confident in saying that video content and visual content is almost just as important as the music sometimes. So we're actually working on a live show at the moment. When I was making this EP, you know, hopefully people that listen to it can tell that there are a lot of live elements in the music, whether it's live drums, live guitar, acoustic guitar. And one of the main reasons that I wanted to do that is because I know in my head how this show is going to look live. And I wanted to make sure that I had those live elements so that when people come to the show, they can see the song in the most authentic way possible. You know, I think live show, once again, is a whole art form in itself, and I've got such a clear vision of what I want it to look like, and I am super excited to bring that vision to life and show people that, but I want to do it properly. So it is coming. I'm actually working on it right now, but I can't give a date just yet, but I'm really excited to be on the stage and doing what I love for however many people choose to show up. I'd have to say Avicii is got to be at number one. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. But in terms of overall artists, I'm loving what Tate McRae is doing. I'm loving what May is doing at the moment. I have so much respect for so many incredible Australian artists. I can't choose just one, but I'd say at the top of the list, it'd have to be Avicii. I'd actually love to work with Leroy, just bringing two Australians together. I feel like that would be really fun, and obviously he's doing incredible stuff and incredible music and people are appreciating it, including myself, so that would be really cool. I'd have to say the first album that I properly listened to, Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City, my favorite album. It was the first album I listened to back to front. I probably shouldn't have been listening to it at the age that I was, but that would have to be number one. It'd probably just be one of my two favorite movies, which is either The Lion King or The Dark Knight. Yeah, those two soundtracks are already so incredible though, so I can't. Yeah. Oh, I was a big Hannah Montana fan. Yeah, it has to be Hannah Montana, too nostalgic. The first song I ever learnt on guitar was Tears in Heaven, and I still play that to this day. I really love playing that song, and I think it's such a special song, especially the message. I'm sure it was the Wiggles, but I can't remember it. It may have been a Bruno Mars concert, actually. I think way back in the Gorilla days of Bruno Mars, I think that may have been the first concert that I remember. I'd have to say it was a concert I went to recently, which was the Tame Impala show. That show was the closest thing that I've ever come to for like a religious experience, out of body experience. It was incredible. Has to be that one. I don't think I'm pretty enough to be a Spice Girl, so I'd have to be a Backstreet Boy. I'd probably do what Post Malone did and just go on the internet and be like a random rapper name generator, something like that. I don't know. I couldn't choose one, that's for sure. Hey Brother by Avicii has to be. Put on a bit of a country accent, it's great. I'm actually a big country music fan. And if I'm playing country music, when some of my friends get in the car, they almost get back out of the car. But I think just the songwriting and storytelling in country music is so inspiring. So I listen to it a lot. I would probably say of recent times, it'd have to be someone like Olivia Rodrigo, just what she's done with TikTok. I think, you know, she was the first person to do it so well, one of the first people to do it so well. And yeah, I'd say her. I think not worrying about, you know, the metrics so much and just worrying about the emotions that I feel. You know, I think it's really easy to get caught up in numbers, and I'm just trying my hardest at the moment to just celebrate every small win that comes my way. It had to be that Avicii show, to be honest. I was in that crowd. I'm like, I'm going home and buying DJ decks and starting producing straight away because this is the coolest thing that I've ever seen.